They used to say Yellowstone was nature's final gift to mankind. A sacred land where steaming rivers pulse like the lifeblood of the earth, where bison roam across ancient plains untouched by the iron hands of time. But somewhere within the cracks of that painted silence lies a truth we've refused to see for over a century. Like a golden palace built atop a minefield, Yellowstone is not only paradise. It is a warning, a biological, chemical, and geological bomb buried just beneath the fragile skin of water and pine. And now, in the year 2041, it has begun to breathe heavier than ever before. Scientists once calculated that the chance of Yellowstone's supervolcano erupting within a century was less than 1%, and they weren't wrong. But like every great tragedy written by the hand of God, what ends the world is never what's expected. It's what no one sees coming. In March of that year, the geothermal sensors began recording mild temperature increases, the kind usually dismissed as spring anomalies. But this time, they didn't stop. The snows around Old Faithful melted 3 weeks earlier than any recorded year. A jet of steam over 300 feet high burst from a fresh fracture in the earth. Nobody wanted to admit it, but that was the beginning. The world truly awoke on April 17th. A modest quake, magnitude 5.8, rippled beneath Norris Geyser Basin. Not strong enough to collapse buildings, but deep enough to rip open a wound in the crust, reaching toward the vast magma chambers sleeping below. In the next 3 days, over 4,000 microquakes followed, like the slow knocking of something ancient pressing against its stone coffin. And then, it began, not with an explosion, but with a terrifying silence. Birds vanished from the skies. Bison fled north against centuries of migratory instinct. Wolves disappeared into the shadows without leaving a track behind. People called it the Great Quiet, a 12-hour vacuum of sound that wrapped Yellowstone in dread. At 4:17 a.m., April 24th, the land began to tremble. Not like an earthquake, but like a living thing stirring in its sleep. A pillar of fire, taller than the Eiffel Tower, burst through the waters of Yellowstone Lake. The air turned thick, like the breath of gunpowder. Sulfur burned through the atmosphere. Commercial planes lost control within a 200-mile radius. And above it all rose a dark column of ash 13 miles high, blotting out the early morning sun. And that was only the first chapter. Outside the United States, people still thought it was a localized natural disaster. But within 72 hours, that illusion shattered. Ash blanketed over 10 states, grounding all air travel. It contaminated reservoirs, poisoned crops, and turned day into gray dusk. The U.S. power grid faltered not from damage, but because the ash, rich in conductive particles, shorted out major transmission lines. Millions tried to flee. But how do you run from invisible dust? Then came the second wave, climate collapse. The sulfur-rich ash reached the stratosphere, triggering global cooling. The summer of 2041 saw temperatures plummet 6 degrees Celsius worldwide. Crops failed. Entire ecosystems buckled. Food prices quadrupled. For 18 months, entire cities saw the sun only as a pale disk behind a gauze of death-gray haze. People called it the Black Winter. No nuclear war, no AI uprising, no asteroid impact, and still the world teetered on the edge. All because of a single crack in North America's crust. Yellowstone, once hailed as Eden, had become the ignition point for a chain reaction no government could stop. Agricultural nations fell into famine. Ocean currents shifted. Ancient viruses thawed in the accelerated melt of glaciers, returning to a world no longer prepared for them. In fear and desperation, nations turned inward. And as always, humanity did what it does best. It blamed itself. Now, in 2043, as I write this account from what remains of the Colorado Plateau, the world is still learning to survive. There were no bombs, no missiles, just the earth, tired, old, and angry, pushing back. The survivors build homes from salvaged wood. They distill water from fog. They pray beneath a sun that only shines a few minutes a week, as if God himself can no longer bear to look upon what we've done. And strangely, even now, people still speak of Yellowstone as something sacred. They still call it America's Garden of the Gods. Maybe it's because, deep down, humans have always been fascinated by things so beautiful they might kill us. As if we were born knowing we would burn, and still we can't look away from the flame. Yellowstone is paradise, and it is mankind's golden coffin.